Hello and welcome back to Lit Carnivale. This week we're going to be talking about why community is so important. So I've been a writer my whole life, whether I acknowledged it or not, it's hard to say. It's just always been a part of, who I am. And so it just, when it came to me writing my first book, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing. I had 80,000 words of a first draft, and I was like, whoa, I think I just wrote a book. But it was at that time that I really started to seek community because I was always one of those kids who like really enjoyed reading. I, aside from reading books, I liked comic books. I was really into kind of geeky things, but I also had like other interests. Like I used to dance. I studied jazz and ballet. It was a brief period of time that I try not to think about too much where I was a cheerleader, but that's only because I grew up in Texas and all little girls in Texas are cheerleaders. So, but my point is that I've had all of these like different interests that it never occurred to me that writing wasn't just one of those things. I love music, art, all of the things, but I think writing has been like the most like consistent thing from the time I learned how to write to now. And so when I realized that I had written a book and I kind of looked around me, I didn't really have anyone that I could really talk to about like my experience and with that. There were a few people who were like, oh, we also enjoy reading, and we could talk a little bit about reading, but definitely not writing. And so I started to seek community. I started a blog, and I was blogging about the process of me writing my book and expanding on ideas, creating characters and worlds and all those kinds of things. And I connected with the Insecure Writer Support Group, which is a blog hop at the time. It's expanded to more than that now. But really, as cliche as it sounds, the internet was where I found my community. At that time in my life, I didn't have people in my life who were avid readers like I was. I didn't have people in my life who wrote like on a regular basis, not even like to journal. Like me, myself, I've never been a consistent journaler. But when I started my blog, that's pretty much what it was. It was me journaling my whole process of writing, and so it was really just a period of time where I kind of felt isolated. I was inspired and empowered by this experience that I was having of, expressing my creativity, but I didn't really have anyone to share it with. And so I started seeking community. Um, Beyond the online writing community, I tried to start kind of getting involved with things locally, but it was really hard for me to like make connections, to like network. I went to a lot of things that I thought were going to be good opportunities, and they really weren't the communities that I wanted to be a part of at the time. I was just looking in all the wrong places. I didn't know any better. Lots of like business groups and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I wasn't looking to business network. I was looking for like-minded people who were, like I said, were either avid readers or writers or both, who could understand what it was I was experiencing at that moment. And it took me a really long time to kind of find that. um so even once I did, finally feel at home in some of the different writerly and bookish communities, I always still felt kind of detached because I didn't really have anything local. And again, I was just looking in all the wrong places. Eventually, I came across an organization for my area that was called the Hampton Roads Writers. Hampton Roads Writers. I feel bad because they no longer exist now. But for a long time, I believe it was Hampton Roads Writers. They were it. And through them, I've met other people. The people that I currently work with at the Muse Writer Center, I originally met them through the Hampton Roads Writers. So like I've since, spent, several years and decades developing community. And so it means so much to me to have found that. But I know that that can sometimes be a really hard thing to find if you don't know where to look. And so one of the reasons that I really wanted to develop Lit Carnivale and all of the different ideas that I have for the podcast is because to me, it's that one step closer to that idea of community. If people, love reading or writing, if they are fans of authors and creativity, I'm hoping that they'll find this and it'll help connect them to community. So, quick recap on the ideas that I have in mind. Of course, I'm going to keep the Lit Carnivale podcast going to update people on what's happening, but this is really just kind of the foundation, the base for the other four projects that I'm hoping to launch in 2026. So, the Read Local show and the Read All Over show, I actually launched those previously and had some success with those. So, I'm attempting to relaunch those. And I'm going to be tapping into my community, hopefully, to start getting some participants for that. I will be, reaching out to people locally. I'll be reaching out to people online, people from all over the world, hopefully gathering a diverse group of authors and writers to feature on those two programs. The two new programs that I'm working on, which I think are going to be the greater challenge, is the Aspiring Writers podcast and the Reader podcast, which I'm still working on names for both of them and also like the graphics and things like that. Right now, I'm leaning towards Aspiring Writers in the Know for the name for that title. And then for the other one, I'm leaning towards What Readers Really Want. So we'll see what happens with that. And so I think the challenge here is finding someone who's not like a fully established published author, someone who recognizes themselves as a writer and wants to put themselves out there to the greater public to say, hey, you will be seeing something from me at some point, and then finding that person and having them appear on my podcast. I know that a lot of writers are introverted by nature. And so whenever I find an author, a published author who wants to appear on my podcast, I'm like, yay, I've got another one. And so now I think the greater challenge is going to be finding someone who hasn't jumped over that publishing hurdle yet and giving them that poke to say, hey, it's okay, come onto my podcast and share your story. I think that's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to try it. And then the even bigger challenge that I think I'm going to be faced with is finding readers. Let me rephrase that. I know where readers are because I am a reader. The challenge is going to be connecting with those readers without coming off like some creepy person who's trying to scam them. Everything nowadays is a scam. So can you imagine someone reaching out to you saying, hey, I love your bookish post. You want to come to my podcast? I don't know. I I, I think if someone had approached me, if someone were to approach me like that, I'd be concerned, but I'd also do my research. Maybe this person really does want me to appear on their podcast. I'd look them up. I'd do a search. I'd find them on social media and find out whether or not they were legit. But that's assuming that they're even interested. I'm afraid that if I start reaching out to readers that I see online, I don't know. As I've been doing this for so long and I've kind of passed over some of the obstacles that writers face where when you first start out, you have like this imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? And then after you've kind of proven yourself to be good enough, you then have this kind of insecurity of sustainability. Can I keep being creative and keep producing? And I've kind of jumped over that hurdle too. And I think now my hurdle is making connections. Like, can I, meet new people and, make a connection with them? Or am I just kind of stuck where I am? I feel like at some point, all the people that you're ever going to know, and I don't like that idea. Like, I like the idea that I can meet more people, but that's kind of the insecurity that I'm facing with right now is, will I be able to connect with readers to actually have them participate on my show? So, but that's what I'm going to be tackling. I'm, hitting the proverbial pavement, as they say. It's going to be virtual. I will be kind of going in person, hopefully like to libraries and bookstores and stuff, going to the places where readers might be and seeing what's possible. But I think that is kind of where I am. I'm going to be tapping into the community that I've already built and established and have become a part of. I've been very blessed to become a part of other pre-existing communities, but I think the greater challenge is going to be establishing a new community within that greater community. So that's what my focus is this week. I am going to be reaching out and starting to try to get some participants and bookings for the shows, and following up on, what the name of the two new podcasts will be, and maybe coming up, figuring out and establishing like what the graphics and formats for all that stuff will be. It's very much all a work in progress, but it's happening. It's happening. I just keep telling myself it's happening. So that's all I have for this week, guys. As always, stay safe, be blessed, and keep reading. Lit Carnivale #3, starring Toy Thomas, featuring no one else at this time. Topics discussed: finding community, aspiring writer podcast, reader podcast, building community. Produced by Toy Thomas in association with the Toy Box of Words and Lit Carnivale. Directed by Toinette Toy Thomas. Thanks again to the Lit Carnivale community at Substack and on YouTube. Your book fandom is here.